and welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, March 1st, 2016. I'm Laflin Fraser with the details. Lawmaking should be done after due and weighty consideration, and the consequences of lawmaking should be considered before lawmaking is engaged upon. That's according to Queen's Counsel Parnell Campbell as he highlighted the contents of the Parliamentary Bill 2016 on his weekly televised program The Law and You on Monday night, where he stated that he is not in favor of the said bill, which seeks to regulate the attendance of members of the House at its sittings with a fine attached. Speaking directly to the ruling ULP government, Campbell pointed out that while they are upset and annoyed at the action of the opposition members, no law should be passed in anger. He noted that as he has condemned and advised the opposition not to boycott Parliament with explained reasons, so too will he provide reasons why he condemns and advises the government not to pass the Parliament bill.
The opposition boycott is grounded in political protest. Many of us do not think the protest is justified, but protesters do not have to justify their protests to people who think otherwise. If politicians decide to protest the fact that we do not agree with the reason for the protest, or we may not agree with the nature of the protest, does not reduce or eliminate the legitimacy of that protest. And the right of protest is a deeply enshrined right in democratic practice, whether we agree with the protesters or not.
Campbell outlined that the bill gives the Speaker of the House the power to impose a fine on an absent member, which should be a duty reserved for the courts, noting that this can offend the constitutional principle of the separation of powers.
So normally, if this bill is passed, the High Court would have great difficulty finding the jurisdiction to intervene in cases where a member is aggrieved by having been fined half his emoluments. And that is one area in which there could be a lot of debate as to whether in a democratic society you can in fact fine a member of Parliament thousands of dollars without having any recourse to an appeal to anybody. Because as the bill is drafted, you can't go to the courts and complain that the Speaker has wrongly fined. You can't seek judicial review of what the Speaker has done. You'll be met with a plethora of cases which say that what happens inside Parliament internally is not the business of the courts.
Reiterating his position on not agreeing that persons should boycott Parliament and not be sanctioned, Campbell noted that there are several ways to discipline such members, as well as the political consequences which follow their actions. He further noted that while similar bills may exist in other parliaments, it may not be necessary to deal with the current issue facing the Parliament here.
The number of absences which would be tolerated without excuse. So instead of 6, you could say 3 sittings. You could say if you miss 3 meetings, 2 meetings you miss consecutively, no excuse, and then you miss a 3rd one without excuse, then that could trigger the forfeiting of a person's seat. If those same people ask to be sent back, their employers, the voters, would be reminded that these are the people you sent there already, didn't go, so why are they asking to be sent back? So there will be political consequences for persons who boycott, and the constituents of those who boycott would be reminded, and the constituents could react accordingly. They may say we support the boycott and send the person back to Parliament again. On the other hand, the constituents next time They say, we can't send you there because the last time we sent you, you say you don't want to go.
In related news, the Queen's Counsel raised the point that no one should complain about the drawing of salaries, as he has stated in his prior discussions that the salary paid to members of the opposition are not paid for them to do work. Pointing to the current constitution, Campbell said that the opposition has little or no say in what is done in the Parliament, and described the imposing of a fine on absent members as making a bad situation worse.
So from time immemorial, oppositions are being paid for no work. So what is so strange now, if the boycott, the constitution as it is, and as the people voted to keep it, doesn't give the opposition any responsibility at all. I have made the comment on this program several times that once elections are won, the governing party has 99% of the state power and the opposition probably 1%. Well, over the years they have been paid for the 1% involvement they have. So there's no big difference between that 1% and boycotting. Of course, for other reasons they ought not to boycott. They've taken the oath to come into Parliament and so forth. But in terms of all of a sudden breaking new ground of taking half the emolument for unexcused absences for more than one sitting, to me it is going overboard.
The opposition New Democratic Party, the NDP, yesterday evening held its first session of what it calls the People's Budget at French's House, where the various speakers challenged the ruling Unity Labour Party or ULP government's budget presentation and outlined their own plans for the country. Sharon Garraway tells us more in this report.
At the opening session on Tuesday evening of the NDP's People's Budget presentation, former Member of Parliament John Horn pointed out that despite the protest action of the opposition members to not be in Parliament, they must still give an account of their stewardship.
It may not do it in the traditional way, as some have called for, but within reason, a decision has been taken and we abide by it.
Chair of the proceedings, former Speaker of the House Monty Mall, stated that while he would have preferred to have the presentations made at the House of Parliament, the highest debate chamber, everyone has the right to protest.
I am confident that the deliberations, findings, rulings, and admonition of the courts in due course will reveal truth, vindicate the innocent, inspire confidence in our democratic institutions, and enable a swift return to normalcy.
Outlining some of the new taxes and tariffs to be imposed by government, opposition leader Arne Eustace advocated the need for the private sector to be given more support. Eustace said that with this country being burdened with some $2.4 billion in debt, the government is squeezing the business sector as well as ordinary citizens.
Our governments in this region here, a lot of them including this one, don't look carefully enough at what needs to be done so the private sector can flourish and provide economic growth and employment for our people. People are laying off, people are selling properties, people are trying to consolidate to look after their interests, and that is normal. Therefore, I'm glad they join us now in saying that they get a ministry to facilitate private sector development.
The Economist stated that the ruling Unity Labour Party ULP administration must look carefully and critically to ensure that persons become productively self-sufficient and not rely solely on government handouts. He highlighted areas such as agriculture and manufacturing and warned against the many loans with high principals and interest rates.
With a population of 109,000 people, this means that every man, woman, and child, each one, owes $21,950. Your debt in the country's debt, yours is $21,000. Yours, $21,000. And a family of 5, the debt for a family of 5 is $109,750 for a family of 5.
Quoting from a document on geothermal energy, Eustace warned that the project to be undertaken here to get cheaper energy could become more costly for this country.
And my belief, at their price, what they really want is Vinlek. And if they are going to put in $60 million US dollars, because the project is going to cost $82 million, government put in 15 as far as we know. If they're going to put the rest in the project, how are they going to get back the money? They will only get back the money if they own Vinlek. I am convinced, I said it 2.5 years ago in our convention, that I expect that Vinlek will go.
Day 2 of the NDP's People's Budget is currently in session at the French's House. Last week, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, presented the just over $912 million budget, which he stated is grounded in prudence and enterprise. He also noted that the increases in taxes is not meant to suffer the poor, but to increase revenue for the country and to help with the government's program of alleviating poverty and hunger altogether. Sharon Garraway, SVG Television News.
The opposition MP for North Leeward, Roland Patel Matthews, who is the Shadow Minister for Agriculture, said SVG has the potential to become the leader in feeding other Caribbean countries, and efforts must be made to tap into this endeavor. Matthews frowned on the government's Zero Hunger initiative, calling it an insult to Vincentians who have been feeding themselves.
The Zero Hunger part vexed me. You know what vexed me? St. Vincent and the Grenadines, compared to all other countries in our region, has the potential to feed its own people. And still have to export. We have been doing it for donkey years. So when you're in office for 15 years and you come today to tell the people of this country that one of the things you have for them in your budget is to reduce hunger to zero, that's insulting on my part. Because you should not be saying that. You have been telling us over the years that things good, man, things nice. We have to talk about zero hunger. It will happen naturally if we do what we are supposed to do right. We have to put it in as an act of parliament. We don't have to say if you talk too much on your cell phone, 2% will be going to fund. We don't have to do that because our country has what is needed, what it requires to make it happen.
Area representative for the Northern Grenadines, Dr. Godwin Friday, in his presentation called for more efficient operations of the tourism sector, which he says is the chief income earner of the country.
Why can't we have a situation where the industry is managed in such a way that we grow steadily and go forward steadily? That is not happening in tourism. And I think that there is a distinct lack of leadership in the industry. There is a lack of commitment on the part of the government. You know, one of the areas that is actually growing, a couple of years ago, the government introduced the Tourism Standards Act, which starts regulating, licensing and regulating tourism service providers. So taxi operators, they would send you out a letter saying you're a tourist provider, you have to license. You have to come in, we will train you and all that stuff. But you have to pay.
And the NDP's candidate who contested the West St. George constituency in the December 2015 general election, Senator Dr. Julian Ferdinand, says it is essential that SVG becomes innovative and diverse in its production. Dr. Ferdinand highlighted that this must begin in schools where a merging of fundamentals such as agriculture, business and information technology must be harnessed.
There is need for enhanced communication between these various ministries and their technical staff. The Minister of Health and the Minister of Education hinted at this during their respective presentations. However, a concerted effort and adequate financing must be made to ensure that this becomes a reality. School competitions, primary, secondary, and tertiary, must be encouraged and financed if we are to foster innovation in general and innovation in agriculture in particular. Our children are thinking. We need to encourage and inspire them to use the imagination and to innovate.
In Parliament last week, Minister of Economic Planning, Sustainable Development, Trade, Industries and Labour, Camilo Gonçalves, says information communication technology, or ICT, must be recognized as a catapult that can set SVG onto a better path of development. According to Gonçalves, ICT provides economic opportunities to both urban and rural populations, and that connectivity is increasingly bringing market information, financial services, health services to remote areas, and is helping to change people's lives in unprecedented ways.
You put a cell phone in somebody's hand and they have a phone. And technology helps you to leapfrog some of the steps that you had to do in the past. And we have to exploit telecommunications and information technology as a catapult to have us leap up the developmental ladder. Because while we are taking a step forward, everybody ahead of us is taking a step forward too, so we will never get any closer unless we utilize technology to skip a few steps and to leap up that ladder. Before, a business needed to have an office, and it needed to have a secretary, and you needed to have enough money to pay people to do all of these things. Now you can do that same business from your laptop in your bedroom.
Gonçalves further stated that SVG needs to understand the importance of innovation to support the creation of agile businesses that will be able to take advantage of ICT, and that during this year a new set of ICT-related legislation will be adopted in Parliament to assist businesses and government.
And we need to create in this country nimble businesses that take advantage of ICT. The NTRC is doing important work in promoting innovation. They have various competitions. They're working on apps. They're working on producing and promoting Wi-Fi in various areas, not only in schools, but in various common areas. We have computers in the hands of every secondary school student. We're teaching at the technical college at a top-end lab, and we have to mainstream technology. We have to work with providers to make internet cheaper, and we have to use technology not to watch YouTube or not to read comments on Facebook, but to create things that will add value to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and to our development.
The government minister also spoke of plans to upgrade the services of post offices across SVG, since their role has become obsolete, and therefore his ministry must find a more sustainable role for them in society.
We have to update our post offices. Post offices' role in the past, which was to carry mail, can't sustain them anymore, because people, when's the last time you wrote somebody a letter? You know, you send them an email. You send a WhatsApp, you send a text. So post offices have to adjust, and they have to be centers in the community of government services, maybe of some commercial options, and of opportunities for people to gather and act in ways that they didn't have to do in the past.
Government Senator and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Deborah Charles, says as leaders they ought to make a conscious effort to involve persons from all walks of life to build a cohesive nation. Charles, who was at the time making her contribution to the 2016 budget presentation, says the mere fact that the seats on the other side of the House are vacant is an indication that the reconciliation process is an important and a necessary one.
It is this kind of enslavement, Mr. Speaker, that engenders bitterness, hatred, malice, guile, a spirit of discord, disrespect, and indiscipline. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the Unit of Reconciliation seeks, under the mandate given to us firstly by God and secondly by the electorates of this country, to use every resource given to us to bring about a healing in this country of ours.
According to Charles, as policymakers and Christians, they have to be responsible to God, which means they must do what is right for the growth and development, not only for themselves, but for the nation as a whole. She outlined some of the objectives of the reconciliation process.
Fostering unity and resolve unsettled matters among political parties, rival gangs, cultural groups, schools, churches, etc. Liaise with various community organizations and other key stakeholders in the formulation of programs, activities in the reconciliation process. Promote positive attitudes in St. Vincent in all areas of life. Promote the culture of patriotism and recognizing positive achievements in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Senator Charles also urged Vincentians to take pride in SVG and to keep in mind always the impact their negative online content will have on the country and the population. In more local news, a strong warning has been sent to the police by Senior Prosecutor Adolphus Delpesh to make sure that at all times parents or guardians are in attendance in court when a juvenile offender appears to answer any charges. The warning came earlier today when a 12-year-old male appeared on a charge of burglary. Delpesh reiterated that such offenders are minors, and when appearing in the prison's dock, a parent or guardian should always be there alongside them. Chief Magistrate Rachel Brown, in response, agreed with Delpesh's contention and stated that there are certain guidelines stipulated in the Juvenile Offenders Act to deal with such cases. Reaffirming his commitment in providing proper representation to all members of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, or the SVG-TU, newly re-elected President Oswald Robinson expressed his appreciation to all teachers who voted for him and those who did not, stating that regardless, it is his responsibility to represent them all. Robinson said he is proud to be a part of an organization which believes in democracy and socio-economic justice as they continue to raise the image of the union. He also commended the election committee led by fellow member Curtis King for yet another unique and transparent electoral process.
First of all, let me say thanks to the Almighty God for giving me this opportunity, speaking to the hearts of the teachers of this nation, for once again putting the business of the teachers union in good hands, and I will do so to the best of my ability. So I want to use this opportunity to reaffirm my commitment to give effective representation, quality leadership, and to ensure that we continue to advocate and to agitate for the interests of the membership. We have two new faces, Paulette Williams, who is the General Secretary, and Sherry Edwards, who is the Assistant General Secretary. The return of veteran Treasurer, Brother Jimmy Wilson. And of course you have the PRO, Wendy Bino, Vibert Lamkin, who is the first Vice President, and Brother Kent Keane, who is the second Vice President. Sharon Doyle is a committee member. And we have another newcomer, Katie Reen, from the Southern Grenadines. It's good to have the Southern Grenadines on the executive.
As to the way forward, Robinson pointed out the restoration of branches as a key goal, along with the training and recruitment of stewards. He noted that the professional development of teachers will also continue as the union is committed to providing quality teachers, enforcing quality teaching to foster quality education. He said there will also be the reintroduction of an industrial relations officer.
We will continue to monitor any new legislation that would have an impact on trade union in this country, labor relations, industrial relations, and also education as a whole. One of the things that we are going to do very soon is to employ an industrial relations officer. Because as you know, we do trade union work part-time, we're still full-time in the classroom. So most of the grievances will be dealt with by the industrial relations officer. So we're looking forward to fill that position very soon, so that the industrial relations officer will be able to relieve us from some of the times that we have to be absent from our normal place of work.
Making further reference to the union's motto, hand in hand, united we stand, Robinson called on his members to stand in unity as they work together to build the union and better the conditions of all educators in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
We want to encourage the teachers to remain firm, to be united. This is one union. The elections has passed, it has gone, and now we have to move on and build. Our convention is coming up in the month of April. It should be the 5th. We are finalizing the venue up to now. Be focused, be strong, be filled with courage. The union is in good hands, and we are going to move forward together, and let us remain together as one unit, and we'll be able to do things incrementally to take the union to a higher level.
In commemoration of World Water Day, celebrated on March 22nd each year, the Central Water and Sewage Authority will host its annual Water Week from Tuesday, March 15th to Tuesday, March 22nd, 2016. Speaking at a recent media conference, Public Relations Manager at the CWSA, Joan Ryan, said the week of activities not only aims at identifying the importance of Water Day, but also to build awareness among the Vincentian public about the company's policies and programs.
We start off with a church service, and that's where we have our internal customers, which is our staff. We come together, we pray, we sing, we just mainly have a good time. On that day as well, we want to go into a community to do some awareness raising about cleaning up that particular community. So members of staff of the Public Relations Department, the Solid Waste Department, will be going out, talking to persons about cleanup effort. And on Wednesday, a team of 10, maybe 12 persons will be going out to several primary schools on the windward side of the island. And on Thursday, we have what we have developed as a career fair, where the several offices within the CWSA is decked out and displays the kind of services and the jobs that we offer here at the CWSA. And on Friday, we dubbed that day a media day, a giving back. Staff at the CWSA, we would be bringing items here, food items, and we would be giving to our charities. And then finally on the 22nd, we would be displaying an exhibition up at the head office, the outside and some areas on the inside, where the general public now, when you come to pay your bills, or you just come on up, you would be able to answer any questions you want, whether it's about the Ibil view. Everybody would be on board to take whatever questions the general public would have for us.